Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? I am Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonso. Next up for us is Raya and the Last Dragon, an exquisitely beautiful movie from Disney Animation. And Matt's going to tell us about it because he's got his special glass. Show me your glass, Matt.
Yes, I got my Formosa Cafe mug that, if you look closely, you can see has a dragon that is curling winding around a pagoda. There is a lot of East Asian design, kind of all across from various, China, Japan, all kinds of stuff. This is a terrific movie, and it is the story of Raya, a princess of a nation on the world of Kumandra that has broken apart into, her nation is one of 5 nations. They've all broken apart into different things that are parts of a dragon called, they are in the heart land. There's a talon, there's a fang, there is tail and spine. And we hear a legend about the Droon, this evil force that was turning people to stone, and the dragons came together and fought them. But Sisu, one of the last of the great dragons, or ends up being the last great dragon, successfully fights all the Droon 500 years in the past, and she's the only one left, and she disappears because the dragons that had been turned to stone don't come back. And all that's left is a gem. Raya meets a new friend from the Spine clan, and turns out is there to steal the gem, the soul of the dragon. That's all the dragon's power. The gem breaks, it splits the world apart. Things go terribly, terribly wrong because the Droon come back. Raya's father, voiced by Daniel Day Kim, is turned to stone, as are a lot of people in her country. Raya is voiced by Kelly Marie Tran. So she goes on a quest to try and first of all, to try and find Sisu. And if you've seen the posters at all, you know that she finds Sisu. Hilariously voiced by Awkwafina here in the second movie this week. It's our two Awkwafina movies. She finds finds Sisu, and they have to put the gems back together and try and fix the world. Along the way, she meets a lot of crazy characters. Buon, the shrimp restaurateur in a little boat, a Khan baby, the last of I believe it's the Talon clan.
I think so.
Benedict Wong's character.
Wong. This is a terrific movie. I really, really like this movie. It's gorgeous. It's, I'm always impressed when an animation company, especially Disney, but anyone, can come at something that you really haven't seen before. And the design in this, and not just the design, some of the elements that are in this, the way we see the dragons, and there's so much detail here. This is something that I think you're going to want to go back and watch again to kind of pick up the things that you miss. They mess with styles. The opening thing looks like paper cutouts, the opening sequence that kind of gives you the story. There's some elements where one of the characters is talking about their plan, and it almost looks like Into the Spider-Verse. And this is a really sweet story. It's a great story about a woman and a society that at the end of the day has to learn to trust again. And that's the key thing. There's so many things are about a romance in other movies. This movie doesn't mess with that at all. It's really about trust. And it's a really solid story about people coming together. And it's funny. I thought this was really funny and really moving as well. And one of the things it does really well is there's a point at which it actually starts to shift the point of view or shift who it's focusing on, which I found surprising and really liked. And I don't want to say what that is because it'll give it away.
I don't envy you having to do the plot synopsis on this one, because when I sat down to write my review, I had 5 paragraphs. I was like, okay, I got to hack this down.
I mean, look, it's a fetch quest.
There is, yeah, but there's so much world building and so many characters and so many pieces of this puzzle, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, like the movie, they take on this really complicated narrative and they tell it really well. And like, I think even kids will be able to follow this movie and see what's going on. But it's just in trying to recount it later, like, and then they go, and then there's the thing, and then of course, there's 5 pieces of the jewel and the map and the blah, blah, yeah, no, this is a gorgeous movie. It's beautiful to look at. It's exciting. It is funny. When Awkwafina first shows up, it was a little jarring for me just because the movie up to that point had been almost kind of Hunger Gamesy in terms of like this, it's sort of dystopian and there's this like broken apart land. And then Awkwafina comes out being Awkwafina, you're like, this is a little wacky. But by the time once Sisu's part of the plot and among the characters, the movie softens a bit and accommodates her presence in it, and it totally works. Amazing voice cast. I mean, usually we sort of roll our eyes when it's like they get a bunch of celebrities just to have celebrities, but like, you have these, like, it's this Asian all-star cast. It's like, Gemma Chan is in there, and like Patty Harrison and all these other people that are great, and you're not necessarily sitting there thinking like, oh, it's this comedian doing this shtick. Right. It's like
Sandra Oh is doing, I think, the mother of Gemma Chan's character.
Yeah, so like it's right for the character, and it just all comes together really beautifully. I loved how sort of complex it was on one hand and simple on the other, and that is a challenging moral, like especially I think in this day and age, certainly in the United States, but just in general, the movie does kind of come down to the idea of like, you have to trust your enemy, that your enemy will ultimately be in favor of what is in the common good for everybody.
And who's going to make the first step? That's the other really, right?
And who's going to lay the groundwork for that compromise to happen? It's like, that's a lot for a kid's movie to tackle, and like to wrap your mind around right now. But this movie really does a great job.
It's so resonant. It's so relevant and so resonant now. And they couldn't have possibly have imagined that years and years ago when they began working on this, like more than ever, given how divided our country is and how parts of the world are, to suggest that like, you got to just open your heart and set that aside. And we need to learn to help each other. Yeah. I think it seems like a complicated notion for a kid's movie, but that's who I think will get that idea more than anybody else.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
and one of the things I think the movie's really, really smart about is the stuff that it sets up that you think are kind of jokes at the beginning early on turn out to be really important. Like where, throwaway lines about like, oh, you got to always bring a gift. And then that turns out to be a thing, right? Yeah. And it fits in line with the message of the movie, which is somebody's got to take the first step. Not only you have to trust what other people around you are going to do, but like
what the movie kind of plays off as Sisu's naivete, it later then endorses, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah. And again, this movie is gorgeous. The design, the character design is great, but also the different architecture and different design of the different lands. It made me think of Star Wars, right? Like the first Star Wars, you come into this world that is fully realized and you don't really need a lot of like exposition. And every time you go to a new place, like, oh, okay, here, everything's distinct. You get it. This one does that really, really well. Yeah. The music's terrific. I also want to point out the camera work in this is wild. There's so much that looks like handheld camera work. And I'm normally not a fan of handheld camera work. Well, I don't know who's holding the hand on the CGI environments. The use of handheld camera work, especially in some of the fight scenes and some of the action set pieces, is really effective in a way that I hadn't expected. And I know I've complained about that in other places before, but they use it really, really well here.
Yeah. And the fight choreography as well. Yeah.
The great James Newton Howard did the score. We should mention that. Yeah, we really love the score too. I was impressed by this movie's ability, as you said, Alonso, to do so much so well, because it is really complicated, and yet the message at its core is so simple to almost be corny, like in the wrong hands. The idea of we've got to trust and be nice to each other sounds, it could have been so overly simplistic, but the way it's depicted here is so profound. Again, as you say, Matt, it's stunningly beautiful. We talk all the time about movies we wish we could have seen in a theater. This is absolutely one of them, as was Mulan earlier this year, last year. It's a blur.
This is one that this is a rare desire for me. I would have liked to have seen this in 3D. I caught in the credits that there was a stereoscopic supervisor. And so they were doing this in 3D from the get-go, and we didn't get to see that. But I bet that this would have been stunning. Just the way the camera moves and kind of like the flying and moving shots, I think would have been really, really cool.
And just I was going to say, just the way they picture how, like, what dragons look like in this movie. Like, we're used to them just being sort of like big lizards, but they're furry and they're fuzzy and they have like these different kind of textures to them.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it with Nick, and there are points where he was like, that's live action. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just so photorealistic. Like the fur is so tactile, and the grass and the water. Yes, every land is so distinctly beautiful, and they're not just distinct, but they're like so representative of the people who live there and what their personalities are like, and like the austerity of spine, for example,
what they dress like, all that stuff.
We didn't mention the way the hand-to-hand combat is staged, especially between Raya and Lemire, is not wuxia style like you would see wires. Like it's really grounded and feels very tactile, feels very immediate and realistic, in spite of it being this CGI cartoon.
Yeah. And they both feel like complicated women. They don't just feel like girl power, we're warriors, like, or
good girl, bad girl,
Right. That too. They're both really complicated and they feel fully fleshed out. And the way that relationship evolves is really interesting. And I love Awkwafina in it. She gets to do what she does so well, which is just be like kind of wacky, but also kind of deadpan, but also like the coolest girl you'd want to hang out with.
I love her.
Yeah,
also
that too.
Vulnerable.
That's that too. And there's and she gets to do so much more here that she does in the SpongeBob movie, which we're going to talk about probably next. Yeah, it's range from Awkwafina in her voice work this week. So yeah, I loved it. I think it's really, really good for every age, and of course, and also it's like every Disney movie in that you've got like a dead parent and a cute little animal sidekick, but even those elements of it feel inspired and fresh.
And no music, no songs practically, and no love story, which is like, yeah, why not?
I love Tuk Tuk. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'll tell you that there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be shipping Raya and Lemire for years.
Oh, why not?
Why not? Especially initially, like it does start to play off a little like, oh, are they really going to go there with this?
And then little kids will love Tuk Tuk. Do you guys like little Tuk Tuk better or big Tuk Tuk?
Well, you can ride both big Tuk Tuk, so that's kind of awesome.
Dude, big Tuk Tuk is fast as fuck.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that dude's fast.
He's like part muskrat and part armadillo.
Yeah. I think he's actually sort of a pangolin.
I don't know. He's voiced by Alan Tudyk.
He is, yes.
Always reliable in his adorable voice creatures. But again, that's the kind of device where, like, in a lesser movie, they would just cut to him making cute eyes and little noises going, go, 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 go. But there's more to him than that even. So anyway, It's great all around. I'm saying 8.8.
I said 9. I loved it. And this is certainly on my list of movies I will watch again in a theater when I can do that.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to move my score up to 9.
Okay.
So that's a
8.9.
It's a 9. Let's just
say 9. Let's round up. So it's excellent. It is on Disney Plus. Go watch it if you can.
Yes, you have to. It's rent. You have to buy it on Disney Plus. That like Mulan, I believe it's a premium VOD situation. So
whatever, it's worth it.
It ain't cheap, but yeah, it is totally worth it, and it will reward multiple viewings if that's how you amortize these purchases for sure. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on social media at BeFastAllDay, and why not follow us on our Patreon, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're going in deep on WandaVision today because that just ended. And we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up, including Falcon and the Winter Soldier and our monthly Off the Menu classic review and all kinds of other stuff. So check that out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.